We all love to believe that loyalty is the norm and betrayal is the exception. From childhood fairy tales to friendship vows, everything teaches us that the people who are closest to us will always have our back. But here's the brutal truth. The closer someone stands to you, the sharper their knife can cut. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And ironically, betrayal begins exactly here, when we or the people around us can't accept who we truly are or who we are becoming. Have you ever given someone your full trust, only to have them use it as a weapon against you? Maybe it was a friend who shared your secrets. Maybe a partner who left just when you needed them most. Maybe a family member who couldn't stand to see you grow beyond the version they were comfortable with. Why do they betray you? Not because you failed them, but because you started to evolve, and they couldn't evolve with you. Growth is threatening. You see, betrayal isn't always the act of malice. Sometimes it's the result of fear, jealousy, or unresolved wounds. People betray what they don't understand, and when your evolution reflects their stagnation, they might lash out. This video isn't about blame. It's about truth. It's about the uncomfortable reasons behind why people betray, and what you can do about it. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the hidden psychology behind betrayal, but you'll also see how each act of betrayal, no matter how painful, is connected to your personal evolution. We'll explore 6 deep psychological truths, not surface-level cliches, that will change how you understand betrayal forever. These aren't just points, these are inner awakenings. And yes, we'll walk this path hand in hand with Carl Jung because his teachings give us the mirror we've often been too afraid to look into. So, here's what I want you to do before we dive in. Like this video. Leave a comment below. Share this with someone who's healing from betrayal. Subscribe to the channel because this journey doesn't end here. And most importantly, don't skip a second of this video. Every insight builds on the last. If you've ever whispered to yourself, "I don't deserve this," this video is for you. If you've ever asked, "Why does this keep happening to me?" this video is for you. If you've ever felt like your kindness was your weakness, this video is for you. Let's begin. Number 1. People betray you when your growth becomes their mirror. We don't just lose people when we make mistakes. Sometimes we lose them when we stop making the same mistakes they still do. Carl Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But what if your growth irritates them because it reminds them of everything they haven't done? Let's get real. You were once on the same page. Maybe you both struggled with self-worth, procrastination, people-pleasing, or toxic habits. But you decided to break the pattern. You started healing. You started evolving. And suddenly, they pulled away, or worse, they lashed out. They mocked your change. They called you too sensitive, too good now, or accused you of acting better than everyone. But you weren't trying to be better than anyone. You were trying to be better than who you used to be. This is betrayal in its most subtle form. It doesn't always come with knives. Sometimes it comes with silence, withdrawal, or passive-aggressive jokes. They don't always leave, but they stop supporting you, stop clapping for you, stop understanding you. Why? Because when you grow, you become a mirror to their inaction. Your transformation holds up a painful reflection. Look at what I could be doing, but I'm not. And that reflection hurts. So rather than looking inward, they project outward. They betray, not because they hate you, but because they hate what they see in themselves when they're around you. Your presence reminds them of the promises they broke to themselves. That's the tragic beauty of growth. It shows you the truth about the people around you, even if you're not ready for it. But hear this loud and clear. Your healing is not a betrayal. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Every person who walks away as you rise is making space for someone who will love you where you're going, not just where you've been. Sometimes the people you outgrow will betray you before you outgrow them, just to protect their illusion of control. Let them go. Because betrayal is painful, but self-abandonment is far worse. Number 2. People betray you when you no longer need them. There's an uncomfortable truth most people don't want to say out loud. Some people only feel valuable in your life when you're broken. They don't love you. They love being needed by you. As long as you were dependent on their advice, their support, their validation, they stayed, they gave, they smiled, they called you family. But the moment you began to stand on your own, they began to resent your independence. This is one of the most twisted betrayals. It doesn't come from enemies, it comes from those who were once your emotional lifeline. Carl Jung touched on this dynamic with the idea of the shadow self, the parts of us we hide, repress, and deny. And one of the darkest shadows within relationships is covert control through dependence. It's not always obvious. In fact, it often looks like love. But look deeper. Was their care truly unconditional? Or was it built on your neediness? People who haven't dealt with their own wounds often form relationships where they feel important only by keeping others small. It's not conscious. It's subconscious survival. They get their sense of self-worth by helping, but not helping you grow past them. So, when you suddenly don't call as often, when you make decisions without their input, when you start saying no instead of yes, they panic. Their ego goes into defense mode. They feel abandoned, not because you hurt them, but because they were using your brokenness to feel whole. And then comes the betrayal. It might look like guilt-tripping, passive aggression, talking behind your back, or they suddenly disappear just when you needed support the most, ironically for growing too strong to need them. Let that sink in. People will betray you because you healed the very wound that bonded you together. It's sad, it's real, but it's also necessary, because you are not here to be someone's emotional project. You are not here to remain broken so someone else can feel useful. True relationships evolve. Real love celebrates your growth. Real loyalty adjusts to your new self. And if someone needs you to stay small in order to stay close, that's not love. That's control. Let them go. There's an old saying, if they only loved you when you were weak, they were never strong enough to love the real you. Your independence isn't abandonment. Your healing isn't betrayal. You are allowed to outgrow your own pain, even if it means outgrowing the people who helped you through it. Because you don't owe your future to the people who were only comfortable with your past. Number 3. People betray you because they can't control the new you. There's a version of you that certain people fell in love with, and it wasn't always your truest self. Sometimes it was the version that agreed too easily, stayed quiet to keep peace, sacrificed your needs to avoid conflict. That version was easy to manage, predictable, safe. But the moment you started saying no, setting boundaries, choosing self-respect over people-pleasing, everything changed. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Many people are unconsciously drawn to relationships they can control, not because they are evil, but because control gives them security. When you begin doing your shadow work, healing old patterns, questioning beliefs, speaking up, you're no longer as malleable. And for those who were used to a version of you they could control, your growth feels like rebellion. Suddenly your boundaries are disrespect, your silence is attitude, your detachment is selfishness. But it's not. It's liberation. You were never meant to stay in a version of yourself that existed just to make others comfortable. You're not being disloyal. You're evolving, but they will feel betrayed. Because the power dynamic is shifting, and people rarely give up control willingly, especially when they never realized they had it in the first place. They may start using manipulation. You've changed. They may guilt-trip you. You're not who you used to be. They may try to isolate you. You think you're better than us now. But none of this is truly about you. It's about their loss of control. And here's the deeper truth. If they loved you only when they had control over you, that wasn't love. That was ownership disguised as affection. Betrayal often comes as a backlash to your self-ownership, but the real betrayal would be returning to a smaller self to keep their illusion alive. Jung once explored the concept of individuation, the process of becoming your true self by integrating your unconscious into consciousness. And that journey, by nature, is lonely. It threatens every relationship built on illusion. You will lose people, not because you hurt them, but because you stopped letting them define you. Let them feel what they need to feel. You're not here to be controlled. You're here to be whole. Number 4. People betray you when you reflect their unhealed wounds. Some betrayals are not about what you did wrong, but what you unknowingly triggered. You see, we all carry wounds: childhood rejection, abandonment, shame. And sometimes your presence, your energy, your confidence, your kindness activates those wounds in others. It's not your fault, but it still happens. Carl Jung famously said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." But when someone refuses to confront their darkness, they might project it onto you instead. Maybe your confidence reminds them of their insecurity. Maybe your boundaries remind them of the ones they never set. Maybe your emotional availability reminds them of how emotionally unavailable their parents were. Without even realizing it, you become a symbol, a mirror, a wound reopened. And instead of healing, they attack. They might ghost you out of nowhere, or lie about you to protect their ego, or sabotage what was once a solid connection. All because the version of you they see brings up the parts of themselves they haven't faced. You become too much for someone who's never learned to handle their own emotional depth. This is why some betrayals feel so confusing. You didn't change, you didn't wrong them, but suddenly they're cold, distant, or spiteful. Here's the truth. You reminded them of their own pain, and rather than deal with it, they ran from it. This isn't about being a bad person. It's about emotional maturity. Some people don't have the tools to face their wounds, and instead, they punish the people who mirror them. That's why betrayal sometimes comes from people you thought were the safest. It's not your responsibility to carry their unresolved emotions. You can hold compassion for their pain without shrinking yourself to avoid triggering it. Because at the end of the day, protecting your peace is not betrayal, it's self-respect. You are not here to be someone's unintentional therapist. You are allowed to walk away from people who punish you for wounds they refuse to heal. Number 5. People betray you because they secretly compete with you. It's painful to admit, but some people were never truly for you. They were just quietly competing with you. They may have celebrated your wins, as long as they were winning too. But the moment you pulled ahead, emotionally, spiritually, financially, or otherwise, their support turned into subtle hostility. Carl Jung warned us about this unconscious darkness in others, saying, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And jealousy is the loudest evidence of an untouched soul. But here's the painful twist. Competitors don't always come in the form of rivals. Sometimes they come disguised as best friends, close family, or long-term partners. They don't want to see you fail, but they also don't want to see you succeed too much. They clap when you win small. But the moment your win makes them feel less than, betrayal creeps in. And it often arrives in disguise: a sarcastic comment cloaked as a joke, a backhanded compliment, a sudden coldness after good news, a mistake that somehow always sabotages your progress. They don't even always realize they're doing it. That's what makes it more dangerous. See, envy doesn't just destroy friendships. It turns love into rivalry, trust into tension, and history into hostility. You might wonder, why would they betray me? I always wanted us both to win. But that's the problem. You weren't playing a game, but they were. And in their unhealed mind, your growth feels like their loss. Your confidence feels like an attack on their insecurity. Your light exposes the darkness they've been hiding. That's when the betrayal happens. They break your trust to re-establish the illusion of control. to feel like they've leveled the playing field. It's not about you. It's about the scoreboard they've been keeping, one you never signed up for. Here's what you must remember. You are allowed to shine without guilt. You are allowed to rise without apologizing. You are allowed to win without dimming yourself to protect someone else's fragile ego. Because people who truly love you will see your success as inspiration, not intimidation. You don't have to fight back. You just have to stop playing a game that was never yours to begin with. Number 6. People betray you because you've outgrown the old contract. Every relationship, whether we realize it or not, is built on an unspoken contract. You play this role. I play that role. You give this. I give that. And as long as we both stay the same, things feel safe. But what happens when you grow and that contract no longer fits? Maybe you were once the listener, always available for their problems, or the helper, constantly sacrificing your needs, or the funny one, hiding pain behind humor, or the quiet one, who never challenged anyone. But as you evolve, you change the terms. You start saying what you feel. You stop overgiving. You want deeper conversations. You value peace over performance. And suddenly, you're violating the contract they never admitted existed. Carl Jung understood this deeply in his idea of the persona, the mask we wear to survive social expectations. But when you remove that mask and show your authentic self, it can feel like betrayal to people who only ever connected with your disguise. They might say, "You're not who I thought you were." And they're right. You're not. You've grown. But instead of growing with you, some people will betray you, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Fear of change. Fear of no longer fitting. Fear of having to confront their own stagnation. You didn't outgrow them out of pride. You outgrew the version of yourself that kept the relationship alive at the cost of your truth. Let that sink in. You did not betray them. You stopped betraying yourself. And sometimes, the cost of self-loyalty is the loss of relationships built on self-abandonment. That's okay. You're allowed to rewrite your story. You're allowed to break contracts that were written from your wounded self. The people meant for you will adapt. They'll re-sign the new contract with love, respect, and growth. The rest, let them go. Here's the truth most people never tell you. Betrayal doesn't break you. It shows you who was never really with you. You didn't lose them. You discovered them. And in the ashes of that heartbreak lies a priceless gift, clarity. Carl Jung once said, "In each of us there is another whom we do not know. And when we are betrayed, that hidden self, the strong one, the wise one, the awakened one, begins to rise." Yes, betrayal hurts, but so did the illusions you held on to before it happened. So don't run from betrayal. Learn from it. Let it open your eyes, sharpen your heart, and elevate your standards. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not the villain. You are simply someone who chose to grow, and in that growth, you became incompatible with those who refused to. That's not a tragedy. That's a transformation. Let betrayal be your teacher. Let it burn away what's false. Let it guide you toward relationships built not on comfort, but on truth. And never forget, every time someone betrays you, they remove themselves from the future you're meant for. So, breathe deep, stand tall, and walk forward, not bitter, but wiser. Your future is too beautiful to be built on broken loyalty. If this video touched something in you, I want you to like this video. Drop your favorite affirmation from this video in the comments. Share it with someone who needs this healing. Subscribe to the channel for more real, soul-deep content like this. You are not alone in this. And this betrayal, it's not your ending, it's your awakening. Until next time, stay true, stay whole, and stay rising.